Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for December 9th, 2024. Coming up, we had another big weekend in the NBA, and I've got a bunch of questions like, are the Bucks back? We're going to take a look at the NBA Cup games coming up and make our picks, and we've got another edition of our all-weekend team. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Zena. Good morning, Es. Another big weekend in the NBA. I do not know how a normal fan would keep up with the NBA without listening to like 3 or 4 podcasts.
I was about to say, by listening to this podcast,
I have to listen.
We're the answer, Dave. We're the answer.
I mean, shout out to like the guys that are doing the podcast post game, Pod Maverick, all those guys doing like crazy late nights so that I can stay informed on what's happening. Guys, another big weekend, and I'm left with questions here on Monday morning about what's happening in the league. And I'm going to start with the Milwaukee Bucks and ask you guys just straight up, are the Bucks back? They have been 8-2 in their last 10. Chris Middleton's back. Giannis been playing at an MVP level. What do you say? Yes or no, Zena?
Depends. Back to what? When they went to the finals, or back to what we expected them to be just because they have Giannis and Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton? That's where my question lies. But I do think they're in a great position because as of late, these last 10 games, they have higher offensive production, higher effective field goal, higher true shooting percentage. And what that tells me is they're taking better shots overall. Their defense has still been pretty decent, higher than top of the middle of the pack for the NBA. But overall, you've got another person to handle the ball in Chris Middleton. Damian Lillard's coming off screens, hitting his shots. And then Giannis has just been Giannising, if that's a verb, all season long anyways.
It is now.
There you go. I think they're in a great position. I don't know if they back, though.
Right. Well, they're back to, I mean, they're still old, but at least now, like, I mean, look, they had that game Friday, which we can call a measuring stick game. They lost to the Celtics, but they were in it. And then they got a win over the Nets, who have not been pushovers on Sunday. And, you know, again, they just look a little bit more cohesive, and it's the offensive end that looks better. I mean, they're still struggling transition, but come on, man. Are they back?
I think back. Actually, I hate to be the cop out, but Zena's right here. Like, what is the degree of back that we're talking about?
Thank you.
You know, for what it's worth, the last 10 games have been a little bit of a paper tiger in the schedule, right? Some easy games. They've handled business, though. The real measuring stick was against Boston. And I thought their offensive execution in the fourth quarter was tough. There was a couple of bad possessions from Damian Lillard. Giannis settling for that pull-up three everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm taking that shot 100 times out of 100 times afterwards.
And you're going to miss it, what? Like, I don't know, 83 times, you know?
Yeah. But I thought against Brooklyn, the execution was incredible. Giannis was making plays. They were getting out in transition. Giannis had that incredible block on the defensive end. Obviously, different degree of competition, but they are trending the right direction. And Chris Middleton, he just plays winning basketball. Very effective in the first 2 games he's been back, has looked comfortable. And if you look at the numbers with him, Dame, and Giannis in the lineup over the last 2 seasons, always positive. Every single time it's been positive. So
and so far in the 2 games that he's been back, let's swing it to the West, guys. The Grizzlies have been hot. Also 8-2 in their last 10. They beat the Celtics on Saturday. Now the Celtics were on a back-to-back, but still, it's a big win for the Grizzlies. They're now second in the West. Zena, do they have enough to contend in the West? Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson, is that enough?
This team is built incredibly well. We keep talking about that team in the East, right? The Cleveland Cavaliers built well with 2 guards on the front in the back court. Then you got the front court that's big in size. Everyone's capable of scoring. They're cohesive. Same thing in the West. Like, don't sleep on Memphis. Don't be distracted by all the shiny lights out in the Western Conference. Ja Morant, if you forgot because of all of the antics off the court, this guy's still a beast. And his antics on the court erupt stadiums. He still can score at will. And he's just essentially an offensive powerhouse generator for them. Jaren Jackson Jr. unlocked another level to his game. Not only is he this defensive stopper, but he's also capable of scoring inside and outside. And then their supporting cast has just come in together and gelled beautifully around those two. And I like the fact that people are kind of sleeping on Memphis. It adds to the chip on their shoulder.
I'm just glad that Ja didn't actually quit dunking, because that dunk he had was kind of absurd. Did you guys see the photo where he's peeking up through the rim? Like that someone got an angle through the rim and he's sort of staring at the camera. Go and look that up.
Surreal.
It's my favorite genre of NBA photography is the above the rim.
That top down thing.
Oh, it's so good.
It's getting a little overdone, but they always look very cool. I mean, can they compete?
Yes, absolutely they can. I'm with Zena on here. I think if you look at the characteristics of contending teams, right? They have that top dog in John Morant, who can be the best player in any given series. They have the supporting cast in Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, who can be like the 2A, 2B in any given series. They have a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. They can compete on that end. They have an identity, right? Crashing the offensive glass, pushing in transition, scoring a bunch of buckets on the inside. The only thing that kind of makes me wonder is the 3-point rate and like not shooting enough threes.
Sure.
But it was interesting that they could keep up against Boston. Like that was the thing that was really intriguing to me. And Boston didn't have a great shooting night. They forced Drew Holiday to go 4 of 17 from 3, but
which put a pin in that, by the way, because I think that's going to be something teams will follow. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. So I do think Memphis. Yes, give them a check mark.
There you go. Okay. Jonathan Kuminga. He's a starter now. Steve Kerr came out. They started him on Friday. Now, Andrew Wiggins had to leave that game with an injury. So Draymond Green only had to come off the bench for one game. And then on Sunday, Draymond Green had this huge dunk over, well, not really over Rudy Gobert, but past Rudy Gobert, put the Timberwolves night. So they split the Timberwolves double home game there. But Jonathan Kuminga is a starter. He had 33 points on Thursday, had a rough game Friday night, but bounced back on Sunday, 20 points. But Es, I want to throw to you first, because I actually think you and I are of the same mind here. You know, Zena, she was in the arena watching this game.
Yeah.
We were at home and we were talking to each other. This might have been his best two-way performance of his career.
Yeah, I think so. The Warriors are a very common watch for me on late nights because they're like, Steph Curry show. We've talked about this before. It's very easy. But this was the best two-way performance I've seen Jonathan Kuminga put together. I think the defense, the physicality that he was playing with on that end, he had, I believe, 3 steals and 2 blocks, like just swarming defenders, right? Swarming offensive players and helping like that the length and activity. It makes sense to me that he could be such a good defender for the Warriors, but for some reason has not been engaged, has not been able to do that. We saw tonight what a fully engaged Jonathan Kuminga could be. And that's the exciting part for me. It's like, okay, the offense, sure, it's developing, working. The defense, that could be special.
That's the thing that got me excited. I mean, Zena, you were there. He was guarding Anthony Edwards at times, 94 feet in a stance. He jumped what may have been the highest I've ever seen from him on a defensive rebound. And it's just, you see that sort of athleticism, and it's what we've all expected to see from him. But now he seems to have a little bit more confidence behind it. And I think in the game on Sunday, you saw a lot of that, especially down the stretch. They were running plays for him, down the stretch of that game.
It makes sense that he has confidence, especially when you consider the entire narrative around this particular start on Sunday against the Timberwolves was about maximizing Kuminga. It was actually shocking to me that it wasn't about, we're trying to maximize wins. We're trying to just get out of this slump that we're in. No, there was an entire conversation around, we need to unlock this kid. So you imagine going home after Friday night, after even having, not a great game. And you're like, no, we need to unlock you. You come into this game locked in, knowing that people want you to succeed. And that's what you saw in Jonathan Kuminga. He actually spent most of his defensive time on Julius Randle, who ended up going 4 for 14 on the night. That's amazing. When you think about the strength that Julius Randle has and plays with, bully ball, the way that he likes to go through the paint, and you've got Jonathan Kuminga constantly moving his hips, getting in front of him. You saw him locked in on defense. And what did that translate to? Energy for the offense. When he's confident on defense, he goes into this offensive game like, you can't stop me. I'm getting to my spot. And that's what you saw out of Jonathan Kuminga. And I absolutely believe you're going to continue to see this. This is what the Warriors want. And yes, he will continue as a starter.
Well, Marcus Thompson told us they needed a second option. And I'm getting ready to, I think they might have had him in-house. Last question, guys, about the weekend.
Okay.
Franz Wagner gets hurt Friday in a tough loss for the Orlando Magic to the Sixers.
Take my oblique.
A second weird oblique injury for an Orlando Magic star so far this season. So now they're down Paolo, they're down Franz Wagner. And who comes to the rescue on Sunday? Jalen Suggs, 26 points. My boy Goga Bitadze with a fantastic game. 21 points, 9 offensive rebounds, 16 rebounds total.
Nice.
Guys, can Orlando keep winning in spite of these injuries?
So, okay, I'll just mention one thing here. Okay, shout out to Jalen Suggs. Great stuff tonight. Awesome. Yeah. He was talking about how he's being empowered more than he ever has been. Very happy for that. I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
That being said, this is Orlando's schedule coming up. At Milwaukee versus OKC versus Miami versus Boston versus Miami versus New York, finishing out the year in Brooklyn. That's tough. That's tough. I'm just putting it out there. That's a tough schedule for anybody, not just the Orlando Magic, but they are fighting well, and Jamal Mosley is coaching them well. So that's all I'll say.
Look, I think it's going to be tough. Anytime you lose 2 guys that are as important to your team as Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, shout out Jamal Mosley, man. Sometimes he's just like a magician down there in Orlando. See what I did there? Guys, stick around after the break. We got our all-weekend team. All right, it's time for the segment that is sweeping the nation. It's the only way that we can figure out how to wrap our head around the weekend. It's the all-weekend team. And there's no way we're starting this Monday without talking about Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is insane. And I don't care that the Nuggets lost to the Wizards on Friday when we're talking about Jokic. I mean, yes, we care about that. The Nuggets, that's an inexcusable loss. Yeah. But Nikola Jokic had 56 points in that game. He is not the problem for the Denver Nuggets at all. And by the way, followed up the 56 points with 16 rebounds, 8 assists, right? Then on Sunday, 48, 14, and 8. So in the last 2 games, 104 points, 30 rebounds, and 16 assists. Pretty good.
That's crazy. They've concocted the perfect plan for him to win his 4th MVP. It's like, we are going to provide him with the worst team possible so that he can absolutely win the MVP. I don't know. Look, Nikola Jokic is he's incredible, guys. I mean, every single time he's on the court, the on-off impact metrics, the advantages that he creates for the Nuggets, how much they fall off a cliff offensively when he's off the floor. That goes to show you just how crazy he is as a player. And like, how much longer is this going to have to go on? That's my question. Like, until he even talked about it. I don't know. I don't even know before what. But like,
now the question is, how much longer does what have to go on? Him continuing to score at ridiculous rates, or his team not being able to support him in that score?
Both, honestly. Yeah,
I mean, that's where the struggle is.
He even said post game, he's like, "Hey, what has to happen?" He's like, we need to react somehow, some way. And they did. They beat the Hawks for what it's worth. But maybe react for longer is my thing.
One big thing that would help him out is let's get a little bit more 3-point volume. And by the way, while you're doing that, make some of them. That would be, some guys that aren't Jokic.
Dead last in 3-point attempts. Crazy.
Not great. Evan Mobley scored a career high 41 points on Friday as the Cavs won that game. Then kind of a double loss for the Cavs on Sunday. Evan Mobley only scores 4 points because he didn't play that long. He had to leave the game with a sprained ankle, and the Cavs lost to the Heat. Let's start with Mobley. Look, 41 points. This is kind of, if you had said before the season, Zena, that Evan Mobley was going to have a 40-point game, I would have been shocked. This is not what we expect from Evan Mobley, but this is a continuation of the way he sort of started the season, being more aggressive, hunting his own shot. And on Friday, I mean, it was falling.
I've had conversations with folks around the league, and I remember speaking about Evan Mobley's contract and saying that he was worth every dime. And I think that this game proves to everyone what he's worth. Someone that is capable of running the floor, spreading the floor, defending the floor. I mean, everything you need in a big, Evan Mobley can provide it. And as soon as he goes down, you see what happens. The offense gets a little bit more stifled, a little bit more congested. And then the Miami Heat have more of their way inside the paint. So this just goes to show how valuable Mobley is. 41 may have been a surprise, but I'm not that surprised. He's worth it and he's capable.
I'm pretty shocked, for me at least. Cade Cunningham, 5th triple-double of the season.
Yes.
I know that this is your guy, your big Pistons guy. They knocked off the Knicks. That's a big win. The Knicks have been rolling. We've been talking about that offense and all that. But, I mean, this is one of the best wins of the season for the Pistons who, they're scrappy. They're
Chipping
not
away.
quite frisky. They're not frisky, but they're scrappy.
I like scrappy is a good category of the frisky meter.
It's better than last year where they just rolled over and played dead.
And then just lost.
I got to hear this whole frisky meter another day. But
we'll figure it out. That will be a segment for another day. But no, look, Cade, first of all, the Knicks didn't have Karl Anthony Towns for what it's worth. So that's a part of this loss here. But I think from the Pistons perspective, Cade is just, he's taking another step as a lead ball handler. The spacing has allowed him to really, really take his time with his decision making. And the pull-up three is something that he's evolving at. He's shooting it at a career clip this season, which is part of, spreading the floor, making his shots. So yeah, shout out to Cade, man. Just developing. I think this year, guys, is the year Cade Cunningham makes the All-Star team.
Oh, that's a bold prediction.
Him and Mobley. That's my little take here.
Okay. That's an interesting one. The Atlanta Hawks got just completely boat raced by the Nuggets on Sunday, but they did beat the Lakers on Friday in an overtime game. It was kind of wild, and Trae Young was absurd. He had 31 points, but he also had 20 assists. A 31-20 game, Zena. Again, we don't worry about what he did on Sunday because 31 and 20, that makes the all-weekend team. I mean, the Hawks are frisky.
Oh, my God. I hear you guys go with this
They
word.
are frisky, though, Zena.
Are they going to win the NBA Cup?
Oh, I don't know. We're going to have to stick around for the next segment to figure out where I chose them in the Cup. But frisky, it's funny because, when you think about frisky, that means you're holding on to something. And Trae Young is doing the opposite this season. He's not only putting the ball in the basket, he's also giving the ball to his teammates. And that is so cool to see. Like, Trae Young has had this unbelievable burden of having to be the scorer in Atlanta. And now he's getting to have fun with his guys around him, being able to distribute the ball. And lo and behold, he's freaking amazing at it. Like, it's a lot of fun to watch. So it's cool to just see another level of his game just unlock and unload. And now letting others get the shine around him.
Yeah, it's nice to see him get back to a little bit of his roots, right? Like, he's an insane passer. He throws some of the most beautiful passes you've ever seen. Yeah,
True point guard.
And now he is the point guard, no question. In that game, guys, LeBron James, he made our all-weekend team just from that game. He didn't play on Sunday. The Lakers did snap their losing streak by picking up a win on Sunday over the Trailblazers. But LeBron James recorded his 119th career triple-double. He had 39 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. Look, S, you called him old on this show last week. Would you like to recant?
Wow. See, I did it because I knew he listens to the Athletic NBA Daily. And I just want to say, LeBron, you're welcome. I knew that was the motivation that you needed to be able to get this win. Well, look, I knew this was going to happen, Dave. I knew it was, as soon as I said it, I'm like, look, he's turning 40. He's going to have like a 40-point game when he's 40. He's going to have his triple-double. This is a no-brainer for me. I'm not surprised that LeBron James has answered back my old claims,
It's just crazy. He played 43 minutes. Like,
after all the talk, right?
Well, it showed on the defensive side.
It wasn't just you. I mean, even I remember Isaiah Thomas was on NBA TV saying that LeBron James is now beating people with his intellect, with his cerebral capacity, more so than his physical capacity. I'm paraphrasing, but still, everyone has been putting him in this category of he's no longer he doesn't have the capability to beat people with his first step, to beat people with his brute force and nature and just aggressive, physicality. Lies.
Yeah.
He put that on display. He's like, I'm sorry, who? What? Yeah. So it's not just, you were not the only one that also thought he may have been a step slower. And hell, that game against the Hawks was just like, nope.
Listen, he's in his Mr. Miyagi phase, right? Where he's just got to move and, he's got to get out of the way and, he's got to use leverage.
We all did the wax on, wax off.
Right. That's it. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, just old man LeBron is honestly, it's a joy to watch when it's working well. But when he has the moments like he had last week where it just looked like he had no legs, I'm kind of glad that he got the Sunday off because I like seeing him closer to his peak. Guys, stick around after the break. We're going to give you all of our cup picks for the quarterfinal round. I can't believe it's already here. All right, it's time for our NBA Cup picks presented by BetMGM, our sponsor. Guys,
very
NBA
good.
Cup knockout stage is here. Tuesday and Wednesday night, we're going to have the single elimination games. And, we're going to just lay these out. Our picks, I've been crushing in the NBA Cup. Just going to toot my own horn there, guys. I've been crushing. Let's see if I can keep it up. We got Bucks and Magic, and we laid it out. We've kind of laid out the case that the Magic are having a tough time right now, and the Bucks are rolling. I'm going to take the Bucks in this game. Zena, what you got?
I'm with you. The Bucks have all of their folks back. They're rolling on all cylinders. Meanwhile, the Orlando Magic seems like every month or so having to readjust to something significant happening to their team. Bucks right now are going to win just by circumstance.
Yeah, oblique injuries, man. I agree with you. Yeah, Bucks. That's the
oblique.
way it's going to go. Take my
we got Thunder Mavs, which I mean, this might be the biggest matchup of the 4 games. I think the Mavs have just been fantastic. 9-1 in their last 10. Luka's looking really good since he's come back. I'm going to go with the Mavs. You agree with me?
No. I'm going to go with the Thunder, actually. I think this means more to the Oklahoma City Thunder, knowing that they lost in the playoffs. Get a little bit of revenge. Not too much revenge, but get a little bit of revenge for that
revenge.
Loss. Yeah, a little cup revenge. The cup runneth over, if you will.
Zena, are you taking Thunder too?
I ain't even gonna lie to you. You almost had me switch in like 2 seconds. I was thinking back to, just how much the Mavs have been rolling. PJ Washington has been getting me real hype. But SGA and Jalen Williams have been way more. I think they're so much fun to watch, and their defense has been phenomenal. I'm taking the Thunder.
The way this has worked out for the NBA is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Trae Young.
The matchups are great. Yeah.
The
Trae
matchups
Young,
are great.
Madison Square Garden, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking the Hawks over the Knicks. I am flying high with my Hawks.
Wow.
I just think that the Hawks are built for this.
Yeah.
They are built to win the NBA Cup and to make the play-in, right? Like that's what they're here for. And I just think this team, it means more to them, actually, S.
Okay. I like that. I mean, I'm not going to change my pick, but I like where you're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the Knicks. They're the number 1 offense. I think single elimination basketball, you need to have a really, really great offense. That's how the Pacers made it all the way to the finals last year in the NBA Cup. So
great point.
I think the Knicks are going to be able to take care of your Hawks here, unfortunately.
And I'm with you, S, and I'm using that last Hawks-Lakers game as evidence of the case because there wasn't a ton of defense being played in that game. And ultimately, it came down to who could put the ball in the basket. So I'm going to go with the Knicks over the Hawks here.
All right, we got a rematch of a recent contest, Warriors and Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, S, you've been really high on the Rockets all season long. Do you think they have the kind of experience it takes to win a single elimination NBA Cup game against Steph Curry and Draymond Green? Because I don't. I think the Warriors are going to take out the Houston Rockets.
You know what?
Smart
the way
man.
you worded it just now makes me reconsider my pick, but I am going to take the Houston Rockets. No, I'm going to take the Houston Rockets.
Come on over. The water's warm.
Okay, you know what? Fine. I'm taking the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
I can't sell myself on this. Look, you guys know how much I like the Rockets. The defense is great. They're going to do a great job against the Warriors. I think the Warriors defense is also elite and has been popping. So, yeah, it's going to be Golden State.
I think the interesting thing to watch here, Zena, is going to be the Kuminga-Draymond dynamic, right? With Draymond coming off the bench. Kuminga, it's an interesting matchup against the Rockets, right? Like, who's going to guard Kuminga?
And now listen, Draymond didn't come off the bench on Sunday night, even though they said he would, and they were able to play him. And then Andrew Wiggins told Mark Spears of Anscape that he wants to play on Wednesday night. So if Andrew's at the 3, Jonathan's at the 4, and Draymond's playing small ball 5, I don't know. But it doesn't even matter if Draymond comes off the bench. If Kevon Looney is in that 5 spot, he's been living rent-free in Alpi Şengün's head. So we'll see how they perform with him on the floor, especially in that middle area of the court.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who the biggest Kevon Looney fan on the podcast is, because I really would have thought it was me.
No.
And then maybe Zena, but it could actually be S, because
he's maybe one of my favorite players in the league.
Okay, so this is the Looney fan club.
Yes.
Cool,
absolutely.
Cool. I have no problem,
Looney bin,
guys.
if you will. You know?
We're the Looney bin. Yes.
I don't know if we should be announcing that this loudly on the podcast. That's going to do it for today's show, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, shoot us your emails over at NBADaily@theathletic.com, or submit your questions by hitting the link in the show description. For Zena Keita and Es Baraheni, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.